Welcome to Dark Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me once again the one and only Michael Hyson. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing great, thanks. Earlier we were talking a little bit about vampiric magic. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how's that been going for you?
Pretty good. I've been practicing and studying vampiric magic within the form of blood sorcery and healing magics of energy transference, which is going very, very well. And I've actually begun using it on a client. So,
And how is that working out on the client?
very, very good. They're healing at a rapid pace.
Now, also we had been talking, you had mentioned something in Chinese astrology about using a cane and someone's shadow. Can you go ahead and speak on that for our viewers?
It's called the poison cane, and it goes along with shadowmancy. Shadowmancy is an offshoot of necromantic rituals where you're using the shadows to do a lot of different types of rites and remote viewing and a lot of other things. But in this case, you're utilizing a cane to curse someone. And it's while they're talking, all you have to do is think the curse, and you're using the cane, which is set in their shadow, and you're poisoning their shadow, which in return poisons them physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Okay. And that's very interesting. What other aspects of Chinese magic have you found intriguing that don't get talked a lot about?
There's not really much that I've come across on Chinese magic, because one of the reasons for that is the fact that they literally take the keeping silent aspects to a very big heart, if you will. Whereas magic is spoken of publicly there and allowed there, more baneful things like the Bokor or the Maramberos aspects of magic, is, in this case, baneful or wrathful magic, is not very welcome. So the knowledge there is very limited. But one of the things that I have come across that I did find interesting was their use of various different herbalism, toxins, and everything that goes into elixirs that I thought was very cool. And when I was studying this, I actually thought of Catna on this one, because I thought that she may like this, because I know she was getting into and would like to know Asian magic, especially Chinese. So I mean, the poison cane was very good in that aspect, but the poisons in the herbs, the mixtures, especially that of necromantic rites, is very interesting because of the fact that they have spitting cobras, they have regular cobras, and they've got a few other types of poisonous animals that the only places around the world that you would find would be in the Amazons or the jungles. So even if you're talking fish, they've got jellyfish and a few other types of sea animals that they can gather and utilize, such as pufferfish. And those are very common throughout the world anyways. You have to actually hunt them down and figure out where they feed so you can catch them, but that's a whole nother story. So learning to mix these herbs together and getting them into the right sequence, the right measurements, so that you don't end up dead, because in necromancy, the goal is to get too close to death but not actually die. It's about becoming close to death and basically being in that intermediate state, if you will. And these herbs are very, very interesting to come across. And like I said, I'm still kind of working on that myself, so I'm going to hold that off for another video.
Okay. And we were also speaking about blood magic and how it's uh, significant about the magic.
Yeah. I mentioned Father Sebastian, who is basically the godfather of vampiric here in the U.S., specifically around, I believe it's New York, if I'm not mistaken. And it's interesting because of the fact that he's got the vampiric book that just, I want to say, within the last couple of months. And on top of that, the Vampire Sanguine. Those two books are a must-have because to understand blood magic and the lifestyle of a vampire, specifically that of, say, Gothcraft, for an example, is very instrumental. You really got to understand the techniques of bloodletting through either, how should I say this, hemomancy practices, bloodletting, vampiric practices, different techniques, energy transference, the currents, how to store the blood once it's extracted from the body. For that, I would actually recommend, and I did mention this, the blood sorceress herself, Cagliostro, the necromancer, and her first volume of the Blood Sorcery Bible, which I believe she has about 30 pages of certain sections of the body, how to cut, where to cut, depths, and what for, to either strengthen, heal, or whatever through those type of practices. So those two authors I do recommend to those that want to get into this. Through my necromantic practices, I've learned that vampiric magics, go specifically that of blood magic, is a instrumental, fundamental basis when it comes to life and death. And when you're dealing with, say, for example, healing magic, blood is the essence of life. So you have to learn to channel the essence and direct it like a current into an effigy through a link.
Okay.
And there, it's a matter of just keeping that energy flowing frequently and openly to help the individual heal. It would be the same with destruction rituals.
Okay. Again, how people underestimate the power of blood. I think people also underestimate the power of death energy as well. Would you agree?
I concur fully on that. You consider, with what I've learned in the last 5 years as a full-time practicing necromancer, is amazing. I mean, I've written, 4 essays already, and I'm working on the 5th one. I'll be up in a little bit, buddy. Okay? Sorry about that. It was my son. We're out at Mimi's house, so we're getting ready to go home. But it was interesting because learning the different things about bones and what they're utilized for, utilizing blood sorcery and how you can combine them with your magics along with bones to amplify your spells and rituals. The different meanings behind the bones, especially those if you're learning to do, say, for example, bone casting. Incredible knowledge. And I mean, every religion, every philosophy that I've come across since stepping foot on this path has enlightened me to the point where my mind is blown. And so that should tell you something there. When I tell you that my mind is blown. Is like I've learned more in 5 years than I've done the 30 years previous as a practicing Satanist. So it's like, damn. So yeah, I've learned, I mean, the skulls, you got the hip joints, you got the finger bones, the vertebrae, and many, many more that it's like, god damn. And then you add runes and sigils into this, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and you got to learn how to channel. You got to learn how to tap into this stuff. And it's a process that you have to lay a firm foundation for just to delve into it. And that's why I recommended two books that the three books that I did, was because of the fact that they don't just talk about the bodily fluids such as blood and semen and all that stuff, like Crowley, for an example, did back in his day, but it literally tells you where to cut from a medical professional perspective. And that's coming from the Blood Sorcery Volume 1 from Cagliostro the Necromancer. And then you get into the actual energy and storing this through blood magnetics, freezing the blood. She talks about this in Volume 1 before going into Volume 2 and actually getting into spiritual conjuration and using it in that form. Father Sebastian is one hell of a vampiric practitioner, especially in blood magics. Things that this man has come up with and taught in his books is spectacular. So, I mean, it is definitely something that's underestimated, something that people shy away from because they would rather want to fit in rather than to be despised for doing something original and actually delving into what the practices were about, not what they have become today. So I have to concur with you. It's underestimated and not talked about enough.
It is. You had also mentioned that you're going to start studying herbalism. So
Yep.
what aspects of herbalism specifically?
Well, because I actually signed into a thanatology course and a psychology course. One of the things that I'm working forth right now is through Miriam College, and that's going to be starting in about 6 weeks from now. And I'm still in the process this week. I got to go this week and actually get a few more items to send them, so I can actually begin the psychology course to get my bachelor's in. And then I can go for the PhD version within thanatology. And herbalism comes in a lot of different forms and fashions, from medications, the natural medications, not this synthetic version that you don't even know what's in it. You just know it works. But from the old school form of herbalism, I mean, you consider Scott Cunningham, his book on Encyclopedia of Herbs and Herbalism was spectacular. I believe Paul Huzon actually has a book on herbalism out as well, that is not as in depth as Scott Cunningham's, but still it's there. It deals with a lot of healing remedies from old pagan roots and traditions, from quitting smoking to blood thinners, natural tranquilizers to help you sleep, to you name it, even things for toothaches. It's all there. And when I became a necromancer, one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot of things that deal with poisons that you can make elixirs out of. And I've been really delving into this aspect so that it will help you get into a void meditation, to get into remote viewing and projection, and really communion with these death gods, like Thanatos, for an example, Anubis, Hell, Hades, Sutekh even, so there's a lot of things that herbalism can do. It doesn't just heal, but it can also be put forth to help you get into spiritual communions. So I'm really delving into this full time and really beginning a journal on herbalism in this fashion, because it's something that I found that goes along well with thanatology, because that's basically the study of the death and dying process of an individual. I mean, you look at when you get older, how many drugs do the doctors put you on? Do you even know what's in these drugs? For all you know, they could be poisons, they could be toxins, and how they're made and manufactured in a lab, a petri dish. So I mean, when you get into the old school of alchemy and you're breaking down these components into the most basic elements, you can actually create new things. You can actually make remedies for yourself. You can depend on yourself for healing, for immune boosters, blood purifiers, helping your kidneys, even, your gallbladder and everything. You know what I mean? So, I mean, herbalism plays a huge part in this.
Okay, so as you were saying.
Okay, so in Malaysia, and also in Indonesia, practices in the surrounding islands, the Dukhan practice what is known as Sutekh, which is about 5 to 6 different types of black magic. One of which is spiritual. It's highly spiritual, and it's where you're petitioning a spirit to deliver various different items, such as razor blades, needles, poisonous herbs, whatever you want them to deliver into the person's stomach. And they end up coughing up blood. They end up coughing and hacking during these rites and rituals, and they end up spitting them out, which is highly impressive. But these Dukhan are actually paid to do these type of rituals and rites. So there's a lot of different things that can go on with them. And one of the things that I've been really getting into lately is the various different tattoos, the steves, and other various symbolatry. In Buddhism, in Thailand, has perhaps one of the greatest type of various different types of tattoos, and they have one that is called the 9 Pillars, and it's for beginners, and it's tattooed right on the base of your neck, in the shoulder blade area, and it symbolizes protection. And they have one that symbolizes protection, another one enhances your rituals, your rights, and your powers. And from there, I mean, it goes on to other type of things, but it comes down to the entity that you're worshiping and working with, that you're associated with. So if you're into necromancy, every type of tattoo that you get is associated with death magic. It would be like going into voodoo and working with Baron Samedi or Dambella. So it's really interesting to see how tattoos are actually a form of cursing, but it is also a form of spiritual conjuration. And I've been learning quite a bit about this, not just getting my own sleeves going. So now that I'm working on my new essay, I'm able to actually start putting a lot of this stuff in there, and to actually show you what region of the world it's practiced in, the histories behind each one, what they represent, and let you decide if that's something that you want to do for yourselves. Because in today's world, there's a lot of, should I say, this dogma and drama surrounding various different religious practices. And as you know, I like education. It's not just something that I practice, it's something that I literally apply to my own life. So doing this from an educational perspective doesn't just help me grow. It's not just documenting as a grimoire or perhaps someday a book, but it is also something that I can employ to help those who are interested in black magic and wanting to delve into it from various different traditions. So it's something that will help. And in this case, like I said, it's going to be all around black magical rites and rituals. It's not just about the history of black magic. It's not just about what black magic is, how it is seen, and what it actually is. And one of the things that I started writing this morning is the fact that I wanted to make it right up front that people see it as being something that deals with death. It deals with vengeance. It deals with destruction. That is just a small percentage of it. It's not just about baneful magic or wrathful magic, but it is also personalized gain. And that's the thing that most people don't understand about what black magic and what these rites can do. So going back to the earlier story about the healing rite, this is just one side of that type of rituals that can be employed here because it's personalized. It's something that deals with somebody that you know, that you are literally employing these rites to heal. You can do destruction rites, and I do have a couple of the personal ones that I am going to be putting into this. Not just the ones that I've come across and work with through other traditions that I've been initiated into, or studied for that matter.
Now, what other aspects of black magic would you say are not talked about the most? Everybody likes to talk about the baneful magic and so forth, but what part of black magic would you say is neglected?
Anything, a lot of people, when they get into black magic, be it Satanists, be it left-hand pathers, the armchair magicians, whatever, is they're only in it, a lot of times they're in it for the power. They're in it for the knowledge of how to destroy. But the one thing that is not touched on or even talked about is how to employ it for beneficial perspectives, for healing, for personal gain, such as employing it for wealth. Or I think I only know maybe 3 people that I can name off right off the bat. You got E.A. Coetting, you got Kendall Connor, and Ed Kirkavall, that is all talked about black magic within financial prosperity. But you've also got to remember that black magic can also heal. There's a lot of aspects that deal with healing. And again, you're going right back into that equal armed cross analogy of balance. To destroy, you must also heal. When you're dealing with the astral stuff, you've also got to go with the physical. So you are dealing with the balance, but a lot of people don't talk about that. They don't really understand that there is a balance to it. There is literally a cost to everything you do. Healing is just as much as important as utilizing it for destruction.
I agree. Let's talk a little about that bag that you were showing me earlier.
That's known as a mojo bag, a gris bag. Could also be a hex bag too, if you want. But in Native American traditions, this type of bag is known as a medicine bag. Inside this bag, I have an altar coin. Just a second, I'm emptying it out as I speak. Cornelius, quartz crystal, and I believe you know what this one is, because you did touch on it on a video. I did see that. And like I said, and this now, I have an altar coin. Okay. The altar coin is something that I recommend to practitioners have when dealing with Christmas bags, because of the fact that if you're not at home, not around your temple, you are able to pull that out and use it as a version of your altar. So you can really do rituals with it. You can link it to your altar as think of it as a portal. It's a miniaturized altar, and it's connected to your altar itself. I recommend that you have one like that because it will benefit you in the field. It'll also help you keep your power in check. You can use it for any type of rites, rituals. It doesn't matter if you're in a cemetery, out in the woods. It doesn't matter if you're at work, you can just pull it out and meditate during your break or your lunch break. It literally helps, especially if you work in a kitchen like I do. Quartz crystals are great for protection. They're great for channeling, positive energies, especially if you get into one of those funks, those funky moods. Some of us actually have those. But Cornelius is something that you can use for healing as well, not just the crystals. So, and then the other one is great for healing as well. It's great for channeling. So, this is just something I threw together for myself. And because I've been getting more and more into field magic, getting into working, ministry-wise, because I became an ordained archbishop back on the 4th of August, took my ministry to a whole new level. One of the things that I've been working on is putting forth lessons in public. This is stuff that you can do for yourself, teaching them about herbs, teaching them about different crystals that will help set the mood, not only in your workspace or in your car, but also in your own home. And this is stuff that you can do as well. That is very easy to do. It's not just for your personal gain or your personal protection. It is stuff that can be used on literally a well-rounded topic.
Yeah, and I think something like that is often overlooked by a lot of people.
I concur. When I'm at work, like I said, I have somebody that I'm using magic for to heal, and they've come a long way in just a few weeks. It's a lot faster than what they would without it. And it's interesting because I'm also using spirits to help, and I'm not going to mention the spirits, so just it's out of respect.
Right.
But this particular pouch is something that I can sit there and I can be at work, and all I have to do is just let my mind go to that area where I can actually get into a meditative state. And trust me, my coworkers hate that when I do that, because it's like I'm in my own personal world. So I'm sitting there, I'm concentrating on this bag, which is in my pocket. I'm sitting there, doing my job, and right there, I'm employing the whispers and the chants, channeling those energies, continuing the healing process, because I'm connected to my altar. And it's like you said, a lot of people overlook it, and I concur with that fully.
Yeah, just the thing that the vibration you can have walking around, just putting different things together.
Oh, heck yeah. A lot of people don't realize that.
Well, what can we be expecting from you in the near future?
Well, I will be finishing like I said, I just started the 5th essay. I'm looking to get that done within the next few weeks, depending on how much time I have. My life is a little hectic right now. I am doing some live videos for a friend's Facebook group. It's called The Shadow Zone. I started doing that. I just had a interview. What was it? Friday, I think it was. Yeah, Friday night. It was at 9 p.m. on the Shadow Zone. And a follower of mine actually interviewed me. Our mutual friend, is currently indisposed for, I think it was like 75 days, I believe, is how long he's going to be gone. So I've been kind of stepping in and doing live videos in that group. I am planning on, I've been doing a lot of rituals and a lot of rites. I'm looking to do more live videos, specifically those of rituals online from my altar room and in the cemetery if I can get back there. Because I'm watching my son, the other half is working overnight. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of things that I'm doing right now, and I recently got into the laws of power. So I'm incorporating those into the rituals as well. And I'm going to be teaching herbalism soon.
Looking very much for to his Stomp's channel. He does have some videos that he put up. And everybody watching, you can find Dark Sorcery on Facebook. Join our Facebook group. Find us on Instagram at Dark6669. Find us on TikTok, Dark Sorcery. I can subscribe to Dark Sorcery. Michael, it's been great talking with you. And
same.
We'll have some other time again.
It would be an honor.
Yep. And you can check all his links out below this video description.